And I think also, isn't there quite a consequence if you don't have your animal vaccinated, the quarantine time? I mean, it's just...
It's actually it's very serious, and the state of Maryland and the county and the jurisdiction you live in will reinforce this, that you will not get away with not. If your animal has been exposed to a rabid animal, it gets into a fight with a raccoon, and it's deemed that that raccoon is actually rabies positive, and your animal has not been vaccinated for rabies, or his rabies vaccine is out of date, your animal is considered an unvaccinated animal, and it has to be quarantined for 6 months. And it's a very strict quarantine. And they will reinforce this, understandably. It is very important that they do reinforce this. Animal control officers and the health department will make sure that you quarantine your animal.
And that's exactly what it is a
6
quarantine.
months.
And people say, okay, 6 months, okay, that's the quarantine, put it in the house. No.
No.
It is.
It's very strict. The animal has to be in an area where only one person actually handles it. It has to be kept confined into one room or one area of the house where, like I say, one person feeds it, walks it, that's it. That animal is allowed to go out to go to the bathroom with that person under strict observation, and then goes right back to that room. And that's 6 months. That's no playing, that's no socializing, that's no anybody else touching the animal, because if the animal comes down with rabies, then that person that has handled that animal has to be the one that gets treated. They do not want everybody they do not want other animals exposed, nor do they want other people exposed. It is very, very serious. Now, if you have your animal that has been rabies vaccinated, your quarantine time is dramatically shortened. So if your animal's been vaccinated and is up to date on its shots as far as its rabies is concerned, and it is exposed to an animal that is deemed positive for rabies, then your pet only has to go through a quarantine of 45 days. And that quarantine, yes, your family can be in touch with the animal. It doesn't have to be to a strict room. It does have to be in your house. You aren't allowed to have, no other animals can be near your animal, but it's only 45 days. And they can go out in your yard under supervision, can go back into the house, can play in the house with the family members. The likelihood of that, if your animal is completely vaccinated and healthy, the likelihood of that animal getting rabies is pretty slim. So the quarantine is a lot lighter. The 6-month quarantine is very serious, and they will not make exceptions to that.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they're not vaccinated, that's it.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, how much do you want to risk the health of your pet or yourself or your family? Get your pets vaccinated. If I could get myself well, actually, you know what? There are boosters for, and I do. I've gone in and done this series, which is not all that bad, because I was handling a lot of animals, and you just go and get boosters or whatever. But it's very, very important. Rabies is very, very serious. So guys, there you go. Microchipping, rabies. Rabies first, then microchipping. Do both at the same time.
Yeah, okay. Do both at the same time.
I mean, you're there. Okay, so let's go back, and I have to share something with everybody. I don't know if it's going to happen yet. I don't know. I'm hoping it does. But little Abigail, yes, might get a playmate. Might. I found a little puppy dog at the PG shelter.
Adult dog?
Adult. Actually, it's an adult. I don't do puppies. I don't have the patience for puppies. I do adult dogs. And cats if I do, but adults. And I think we have a playmate in mind for her, and I'm going to go back and check him out, make sure he's good, he's not dog aggressive, he gets along with Abigail, blah, 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 blah. However, it's been a long time since I adopted a doggy. It's been like a long time, 11 years, right? I don't even know what to do now. I mean, of course, he's going to come to you first. Boy, here, Dr. Martin, what do I do with my doggy? So tell me, what would you tell me if I had a new doggy? What would you tell me to do?
First thing I usually tell people to do is try to limit the changes that you do in this with your pet. Whether it's a puppy or an adult, there's a lot of stress for an animal, whether it's been in a shelter or even been at a breeder, when you get a new pet, because you're taking it from whatever environment it's used to, however, depending on how long it's been at the shelter. You're taking it from the people that they're used to, either the people who work at the shelter or the family that has raised the dog. You're taking it from the food. You're taking it from the whole environment that the animal's used to. So you want to be careful not changing too much. So I tell you, basically, make sure you feed the animal first, whatever they're being fed wherever they are. If that's a food that they like and they're eating and they're doing well on it, even if it isn't the food you will want to do eventually, it is something that you're going to start off with first. First. Second, you don't want to get too dramatic about, don't run into getting them groomed and prettied up. You do want to make sure that they're parasite free, but there are ways to use topical parasite control, and not do the bathing, dipping, the big, huge grooming, because it's traumatic and you don't know what that dog is used to. So you want to kind of limit that. Third, you want to make sure that they are spayed, neutered, and have had their vaccines. Now, if they aren't, that is something that you then work out a schedule, where we would sit down and work out a schedule of what needs to be done and what they have had and where you go from here. And I usually don't vaccinate them for 2 weeks when you first get them, because again, I want them to get acclimated to their house. I want to know, are they having any vomiting and diarrhea issues, sneezing, coughing, how they're eating. You don't want to add to that the first week. Here's some vaccines on top of that, because if the animal is already sick and you don't really know it yet, then that'll make them a whole lot sicker, and you don't know whether it's the vaccine or the dog is already sick. So after you've had the dog for about 7 to 10 days, that's when I start to actually start to implement some of the vaccines. But I start off first with get to know the dog. You also want to keep the dog confined in your house. The best dogs in the world that are housebroken at the shelter or housebroken at someone else's home, even puppies or adults that are completely housebroken, they'll get to a new house, they'll be very stressed, and they are not housebroken there. And it's not because they're not really housebroken, it's just because they're stressed.
Well, I figured I'd probably take some time off and stay with the dog and make sure that he gets enough exercise and goes outside enough. Yeah,
it's perfect. And then you can see what the dog is doing, the behavior, introduce it to the rest of your family very slowly, to the people, to the other animals that are there very slowly, give the dog its space, make sure that the dog feels safe and secure in your house, and then you slowly start bringing things around. And sometimes it takes a couple weeks. I know when I got Carson, she was 5. She came from a rescue, and I want to say it took about 3 months for her to relax.
Yeah, I think that's what it would take.
She was very shy, and they get to where they're eating and they're doing, and then they don't really start to do all their super playful stuff and do all their little games that they do until they're really comfortable with you. So again, you just kind of start out by we'll bring him in, we'll do an exam on him, see what he's doing, and then just see how he feels about things.
Well, believe it or not, we are wrapping up our, I know, it goes very quickly. It goes very quickly. However, viewers out there, do not get upset. We are going to continue this for another 30 minutes or for another show, and we are going to hear more about other important things that you should know when talking to a vet. So, and I'm going to leave you with a very, very important, first of all, let me just put in a plug for you. You have a new website.
I do.
And it's
She deserves this plug.
I know.
She absolutely does.
She has done so much.
She's my vet, too.
Yeah, she is your vet. You do go to vets, don't you? I go to internal medicine doctors, but you go to vets.
I take my dog.
But you have a website, new website, www.primecareanimalhospital.com. And go check it out. It's really cool. And if you get a chance, go check Dr. Martin out. And she will be back with us again for another show. But I would like to leave you with one last thought. Please spay or neuter your pets to prevent more homeless animals, because they too are a cause for Paws. See you next time. Thanks for shopping with us. Bye-bye.